Welcome into yet another OUA season preview. This time for the McMaster Marauders, we have returning quarterback Keagan Hall joining us. Keagan, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys just had your scrimmage with Guelph by the time this comes out a few days ago. How was that? How did you find kind of getting to go against a different colored jersey instead of your own at training camp?
Yeah, it was great. Thank you very much for having me. It was good. I mean, it's nice to compete. It's nice having guys that, last year we didn't have all of our kind of starting receivers like play throughout the entire season. So it was nice having a lot of those guys back, guys that I have good chemistry with. And then, our running backs as well. Like our running back room got pretty thin at the end of the year last year, as well as our old line, like, a bunch of guys back healthy this year. So it was good, like great competition. It was run really well. It was efficient. It was a good scrimmage and yeah, just like nice to compete. And I think, we did a good job out there and I was pleased with our performance and I'm excited to, watch the film when it comes out to see how we can improve.
Now, as you kind of go through your career, how have you found training camps change for you? Obviously, with Coach P, it's been the same leadership, but how have you found as you mature, it differs?
I think when you're younger, like you're very focused on, executing your reps, knowing exactly what you're doing, like the execution portion of everything. And being really tight on your responsibility, like what do you need to do every play? When you get comfortable in an offense or like a scheme, I mean, like obviously the plays kind of change year to year, but when you get comfortable in a scheme, it becomes more about like supporting the players around you and like using your leadership ability to bring the offense together and make sure that everybody's executing on a high level, holding people accountable, things like that, making sure things are running appropriately. Like, you only have so many full-time coaches, so many volunteer coaches. It's not like a, Division 1 staff where it's like a million coaches, a million position coaches for every position, right? So, you're watching when you're not in the period or like whether it's Skelly, team period, watching, seeing stuff that maybe like the coaches don't see on the field so that you can correct it and actually like make adjustments to it that day instead of having to just go over it and film later. So that's what I've tried to work on, as I've got later in my career, just being a good leader, being super attentive to like details because at the end of the day, like details make the biggest difference because football game of inches, I'm not the first person to say that. So yeah.
Now, you mentioned there the leadership aspect of your game and being the quarterback. I mean, all eyes sit on you usually. How have you kind of taken that leadership role and use that to benefit your team going into this year and throughout the off season?
Yeah, I think like you said, it's a position where everybody is watching you, like you're the forefront and you're like the director of the offense and in like some ways the team, with respect to like the voice that you hold on the team and the way that the things you say hold. I think using my leadership, like I just want to get the best out of my teammates. I obviously want to be as good as I can possibly be, and I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to do that. But I want to use, like I first want to gain their respect and show them like I care about them as individuals first and foremost, so that they're willing to buy into me and we can reciprocate that relationship. But I also want them to know like this is a team sport. Like it's not about me. And you need, 12 guys on offense, 12 guys on defense, and then, however many guys are going to be playing on special teams to contribute. And, being a leader, I think you hold guys to a certain standard and you sometimes have to be the one to crack the whip and be like, okay, like this isn't what we do around here. But also like spending enough time with them to be like, okay, I've seen guys who have done, maybe I haven't played that position, but I've seen guys who have done things at a really, really high level, and I can take the knowledge that I have seen over like my time, instill it in them so they can be like the best possible version of them. Like at the end of the day, being a leader, I think, is about, caring about others and like serving others. So if you can serve others to a high level, then they, it's like we were talking about earlier, like they want to buy into you. They would run through a wall for you if people really know that you care.
Awesome. And of course, you being in this returning quarterback role, um, how do you guys set the standard? I mean, last 2 years for McMaster football being below 500 is not the max standard, right? We know the max standard is all the way at the top. How do you guys kind of change it up and instill that expectation of greatness into the incoming recruiting classes?
I mean, the incoming recruiting classes are super competitive, whether it's been like their summer football or their high school football. So like they have a good idea of what it's taken to win on like other levels. Coming here, I mean, at the end of the day, Coach P has a great track record of success. Like Coach Hopkins had a great track record of success. Coach Brady had a great track record of success at Mount A. So like they understand what it takes to win. And for us, it's like it's not like we've been, we haven't had the same success that we want to, but we've been in like really competitive games that we
Hmm.
haven't finished. So you can go back and look at those and be like, look, we didn't make as many plays as we needed to win. So people have to understand that, when we go out and practice and you have the expectation of practice, like you have to give 100% of practice. You have to be accountable to the details. You have to focus. We can't be 11 out of 12 guys executing on every play and then one guy messes up. Like, it's the same thing that's happened the last 2 years. Like we can't take turns making mistakes. Right. And guys see that, like the film reflects that, I think. So when you put that out to the forefront, like, 11 out of 12 guys playing really, really well on every snap, and then, we take turns making mistakes. We're not as good of a football team as, we might be, we should be with the level of talent that we have on our team and the level of recruiting that we've had the last couple of years. So I think guys understand that expectation, like, even though myself and like the recruiting class that we've had that have come in with me haven't had the same or haven't had the certain level of success that like we've expected coming into a program like that is as good and as well supported as Mac is, it's still, the expectation is a high level of execution, a high level of attention to detail, and making plays when it counts in the games and rising to big moments and not getting to late game situations and then being like, oh, this is the time to wrap it up. Like we don't do well in these situations.
I appreciate the honesty in talking about that kind of stuff because it is tough. And I know, like personal experience, I went from summer ball, like you mentioned, where we're winning a lot of games, and I went to Toronto, and it was like a big adjustment. And I know some of the guys that I came in with, we were like, whoa, like not used to it, right? And you coming from
Mm-hmm.
Nelson, which we talked about, like you guys are flying across the country as a high school to play teams to get some
Yeah.
competition. It's certainly it's in your blood to win, and I to pull a group of guys really speaks to the leadership that you guys have. Um, on the leadership note, to continue that trend, you talked about
Mm-hmm.
Coach P and Brady and Hopkins. What has their energy been like? How is it to kind of? I know Coach Scott Brady is really fiery on the field, like he's full of energy, and Coach
Mm-hmm.
P is very determined all the time. It seems. So, what are they kind of like through training camp and as you go about the year?
Yeah, I think the like we talked about before with the leadership, like they care about us as individuals and they've been, doing their best to show each individual guy, like they'll spend time with them, ask them how they're doing on a personal level, not necessarily just with football. So that guys understand like, okay, this person cares about me, like I want to buy into them. But they have an expectation of us, like they want us to execute and it's a win or lose business. So for them, it's like, we're going to put you out on the field if you're going to execute and we have high expectations of you and we're going to make corrections in the film room, like we're going to do all the things that it takes in order to be a program that executes well and reaches the standard that we've set as an organization. So they they have high expectations of us, like they care and they they're compassionate and they love us, but it they're not afraid to be like, look, like this isn't good enough, which I think like we're young men, like there's no sugarcoating winning and losing, like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be honest with people. And I think when you're honest with people and you tell people how it really is and like you don't BS them, then you have a lot more respect for them. And it's the same thing. Like this person cares about me. This person is willing to tell me the truth. Now it's like, okay, I really buy into what they're saying. I believe what they're saying. And when they're honest with you and they tell you the truth, then it's like, okay, I actually know this is what I need to get better. And that's the way that it's been, this training camp. And I'm like very appreciative of this. Even me, like I get, there's a lot of times in meetings where it's like, I thought I made, a pretty good play. Like, oh, I'm okay with how this play went.
Yeah.
Like it could have been like a mediocre completion, whatever. Like, let's move on to the next play. But it's like, no, we missed an opportunity for a big play. Like, you need to be better than that. You need to have your foot on the gas pedal. Like, we know you need to push the ball down the field, all those things. I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. They're not just going to let me off the hook because I've been here for however many years.
Yeah, it's like you take the 10-yard dig, and you're like, oh, nice, that's a good first down. And they're like, no, no, we had a 40-yard post that you could have just
Yeah,
aired it out
exactly.
for.
Yeah,
All right. Best friends of the quarterback, usually I'd say are the offensive lineman, right? Like you owe those guys your health and
absolutely.
safety.
Of
How
course.
has your big men up front, how they came together during this training camp? What's kind of your outlook for them this year?
They're fantastic. They did a really good job this offseason. Like they had Indy 2 or 3 times a week, just like individually run. doing the exact same things out in the field, like, working their first two steps, like duck drive redirect all the time, coming to the practices we had on Sunday. So they've gelled really well as a group. Like the guys that are moving into their second year look really, really good, like Christian Cote, and then another guy we've got Frank from the CJFL. And the older guys that have been there for, Quinn Cassidy, another guy who is
Mhm.
moving into his second year. He's going to be our tackle. He looks really good. And the older guys like Cedric, Mike Martin, and Taylor, like they've taken on, big leadership roles, trying to bring along the guys that are going to be starting for the first time. But they look really solid. Like they were great today in the scrimmage. They've been really good with, the inside zone game, like split zone and the gap game that we've had in training camp. And I think, I'm super excited for them. Like they're, physically solid. Mentally, they're all on the same page. They're really good communicators with each other. They hold each other accountable, right? They're not afraid to, if it's time to snap on a guy, like, they'll snap, but also like they're compassionate with each other, and like they'll pick each other up if they made a mistake. So, it's a really tight unit. And I think Coach Hopkins has done a great job like instilling those values in them. And I'm excited to, like, they're going to take us as far as we need to go, right? Both sides, offensive and defensive line, are going to take us as far as we need to go. So I'm excited for that group for sure. And they're
Now
just
talk
awesome guys, really good dudes.
now talk about the D line, because of course you get to face them every single day. Of course they can't hit you, but I'm sure they let you know if they get through and get near you. And how's the defensive line, the front seven kind of shaping out?
They look fantastic. I mean, we lost Owen Hubert to
Yep.
Winnipeg, which is like good for him. Like he friggin' deserved that 100%. And then Ryan Leader as well. So that's two guys. Like, I mean, those are hard pieces to fill for sure.
Mhm.
Like fourth and fifth year guys that are going to CFL, which is, they're fantastic players for us this year. But the guys right behind them, like that are going into kind of like third, fourth year. Greg Thomas, who's a fifth year guy, he came back this year. He's going to start at rush, Mitch Price, and then Dom, who was our rookie of the year last year.
Yep.
I live with Mitch. Both of them are going to be just like fantastic players. And then Malik, who's the other edge. He's been waiting and like biding his time for a while. While Ryan and Owen were kind of like holding down those spots. I'm excited for him. Like he had a good offseason in the weight room. Like he looks huge. He's explosive. Like his first steps looks really good, and he's nasty. And I think it's gonna be a great group. I'm excited for them.
Okay, you said you live with Mitch Price. We know the bench press numbers. Does he eat
Yeah.
as much as like he seems like he would eat?
Yeah, he's got a good diet. Yeah, he does well nutritionally. He's also the monster rep for the school, like the Monster Energy drink
Oh,
rep.
really?
Yeah, so he's got like a pretty good stock of those, so that he will lift in the morning during the off season. Normally he'll go do something in the afternoon, and he'll just like crush one of those. So
I'm
he
surprised he's not like a monster before the workout kind of guy. I know those
yeah,
people are they're a different animal.
he's done those a couple times too. Yeah, he's not shy to do that as well. But yeah, he does. He's attention to detail. He takes really good care of his body, and he freaking works hard. So yeah, he's the whole package.
That's fantastic. Now, the secondary is the kind of one of the only groups we haven't touched on a bit. What are your thoughts about the back end for your defense?
I'm excited for them. Like we got a lot of ballers. We got Demetrius Mazuka back. He hurt his knee last year in one of our summer practices, which sucked. He did his ACL, so he was out for the entire year. So that hurt us for sure because like the caliber of player is he's unbelievable. Like he's got size, range, speed. Really good. Really good like attacking the ball in the air, like really good ball
Mhm.
skills. So I'm excited to have him back. And then we've got two halves that are really good, Ethan Stewart and Carter Blad, both of which are like super athletic, like really good jamming guys when we play. Like when they're in the flat, like really strong guys, good adders into the run, smart, like super physical. So I'm excited for them. Like they're Carter started last year. Obviously, he was racking up the interceptions, so he did a great job last year. And then Ethan played a bunch as well, so he's fantastic as well. Played against him in high school, Iroquois Ridge shout out versus Nelson back in the day. So yeah, he's a good player. And then Josh Cumber and then Johan,
Yep.
both the corners. They're both, Johan has been like unbelievable. Like his transition from where he was last year, and then just like his development, like he's freaking grinded. And he looks really good. Like he worked his butt off, smart, physical, like put on a bunch of weight, and he's done a really good job. And then Cumber's just like solid. Like he's a like, fantastic leader for the team, super smart. Like he's like the glue guy of that defense. So he's gonna be solid, and he's gonna anchor like the third of the field out there. And yeah, I'm excited for them. They look
Now,
really good.
now Cumber, he's one of the holdovers from the Yates Cup team. how is he kind of, is he the vocal leader on the defense? What is his part in your leadership group?
Yeah, he knows when to like pick his spots. Like I think he does a good job of bringing guys along that are younger, like fostering their leadership ability, but also knowing like when it's his turn to step in and say something because he's seen it all. Like he's been here since 2018 and he's been a cornerstone of the defense since 19. And he works hard and he's never asked anybody else to do something that he hasn't done or like he hasn't, he's sacrificed everything to be here again, with this team coming back for his last year. So he knows what it takes and guys listen to him because he did it on the biggest stage. Like he could have been the Yates Cup MVP in that game,
Hmm.
right? Like he's a fantastic player. He's smart and he loves football so much and guys see that. And I think guys feed off of that as well and they buy into him.
Now we're going to talk about one of your friends, Jackson Cooling, because not only is he one of your best receiving weapons and threats, my God, can he return the ball?
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of talk about your special teams, mainly with Jackson being such a threat that he is, and how beneficial that is for you guys.
Yeah, we had two pretty elite returners last year. Him and Everett Reed, both did a really good job. I think they were both in top 10 and like returning average last year. So they were pretty big weapons. I mean, Jackson just is like I think like the good word to describe him is like steady. Like he never ever is like out of position. Like he's smart. He protects the football. He just does like he does every little thing like he pays attention to like every little detail that is asked of him and because of that it's like like you said like security blanket where like I know when it's like a bad down and distance like okay like I can get this guy the ball and I know he's going to be in the exact spot at the exact time that I need him to be and that's really comforting for me and then in the return game it's like our entire special teams last year was like really impressive like a lot of young guys like came in and they were aggressive and like it was fun to watch like the highlights on Sunday because they would just kill guys and Jackson benefited that from that a ton. Jackson and Everett both they had really good returning years and I look forward to them being able to do this year. He might I mean I don't know I think returning for 3 or 4 years he might be like okay maybe somebody else
Get someone else,
give
save
one of
my
the
legs
again
for a quarter.
yeah, maybe give one of the young guys a shot this year, but who knows? He's competitive, so he might want to do it again, which I don't
I
blame him.
think
He's really
I
good
think
at it.
Jackson Bennett returned until like the very end when he was with Ottawa. Like
Yeah.
he didn't want to let it up. He's like, no, this is big for me.
Yeah,
Um,
Coach Barisi tells me about that all the time. He's like, he just let him out there. He's like, if you can put the ball in like a weapon's hands, like, just let him go be the athlete and like get us
yeah.
yardage.
Well,
Like that's the whole
he
game.
was playing Sam linebacker for them, and then they
Yeah,
would just throw him back to return kicks, and we're like, what? You're returning with a linebacker, and then he starts
yeah.
to sprinkle in some running back reps, and you're like,
And then he goes to the league and plays running
okay,
back, right?
yeah, and you're like, wow, where did? Yes, he's that freak of an athlete, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, now week one for you guys, Glory Golden Hawks. Uh,
Mm.
you guys scrimmaged them last year, 2 years ago, I forget, in the
Uh, we
preseason.
we we scrimmaged him in the spring, and
Oh,
then
right,
in
spring.
20
Sorry.
yeah, and then in 2022 fall or sorry 2022 training camp. Yeah, we scrimmaged him
Hmm.
again. So we had
So,
two scrimmages in like 2 years.
and obviously familiar, you play them in season. Now, what is it? What are you guys expecting with week one? Obviously, it's the home game before school starts, so you don't get as big of a student section. What's your outlook on week one? Is we're a week away essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, a week away tomorrow. I mean, they got to the Yates Cup last year, like, and they completely deserved to do that. Like, they were a really good team. They were solid everywhere. So, we have to go out and we have to be solid across all 24 on offense and defense, and then, make really big plays on special teams and flip the field in that respect. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be competitive. They have a bunch of really good athletes, and a couple of guys that got drafted last year. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I'm excited for it.
Now, I know you mentioned earlier, like you and Alex Freakin at Queens are kind of close. When you play some of these like big quarterbacks like Taylor or Evan Hillock at Western or Alex, like is it kind of in your mind like, man, this is a quarterback duel. Like you're fantastic and these guys are top end. Do you kind of think about that at all as you're coming into a week, or is it more like I think Lamar Jackson said last year, like I don't play against them. Like I think
Yeah.
that's my defense. Like they got to deal with the quarterback, not me.
Honestly, no, it's more like I mean, for me, the free safety is kind of like the back end of the defense. That actually, this is like this is
Yeah.
more true to me. Like I'm honestly more geared into like who's playing free safety for the other team. So like for example, like I get excited to play guys that are really good. So like last year it was, it was a big week for me getting ready to go play like Jackson Finley
Yeah.
at Western. Like he's just unbelievable, like super athletic, super smart. Like, there were a couple plays where he came out of like the deep post position and robbed like an out from like the field number two,
Yeah, it's
right? Because he saw like certain formations and he just like knew it on film. So I was like, okay, like this guy's really impressive. So I'd say, I mean, it's not like you don't like understand that this is like, these
mhm.
guys are, fantastic players and really good players, but it's it's kind of, you can't really control like how they're going to play. You can't, that's like in your defense's hand. You have to go trust their defense, your defense to do, the best they possibly can. So it's like, I kind of just have to, have to focus on what I need to do, like what defense we're playing against and like what my job is, and just go do my job.
Now my final one before I let you go, the helmet stickers for McMaster.
Yeah.
Uh, A, how do you as a quarterback earn helmet stickers? And B,
Yeah.
how do you put them on? Are you like front to back, back to front? Some guys do like a whole side. Like
Yeah.
how do you earn them and how do you display them?
So the easiest way to earn them for most guys is like a big special teams play. So the I guess like principle of, or like the meaning of the sticker is like you have to make like kind of plays that aren't going to necessarily like show up in the box
Hmm.
score and that are going to impact winning on like a really high level, right? So there's been ones where guys will like, Jacob Mason, for example, like with Montreal, like he would get them handed out every single week because he's holding guys up for like 9 or 10 seconds on a hold up on punt
Hmm.
return, right? So that was an easy way to get them. Like if you, Michael Horvat, like if he's going to pin the other team like inside the 10 on the sideline, don't let them get a return, right? That's another big way to do it. Like if you're going to make a really good tackle on specials, right? Something where it's like, okay, tackle, but if you're the last line of defense, like on the outside and you have to contain and you make that tackle, and it's the difference between like a 3 yard return and like a
Yeah,
43-yard return. That's like the easiest way to win them. And then it's just kind of the same thing on offense or defense. Like, if you get a touchdown or you make a big play or you get a turnover, like you get one for that. I mean, those things impact winning as well, 100%. But for me, it's like if I stay in and I deliver the ball like the last second and I just get like cracked, that's a pretty easy way to get one. If it's a read we talked about throughout the entire week, like this
hmm.
is, we think we're going to get this coverage on this down a distance, and like we're going to run this play, or like we think we're going to get this like structure on the back end, and like we have this certain play dialed up for that, and we go and execute it. It's like, okay, you did everything it took during the practice week, and like we talked about this, and this is really important. You're paying
Hmm.
attention to details. You're going through your film study. So that's all of them. For my stickers, like I put them all in like the back. So I'm gonna do it on like one side. I think I have like I did take them off for East West. I'm trying to think about how many I have right now because they're just all in a sheet. They're all in a sheet
Wait,
in
wait,
my
wait.
room.
So you stack them year over year? Like if you're a first year
Well,
guy, you earn them, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
by your
yeah.
fourth year, you could have a helmet full.
Yeah, so a bunch of
Okay.
guys will have like, yeah, a bunch of guys have like sick patterns because they've been here and they've been earning them for like so long.
Hmm.
So they're, able to do it in like a bunch of different spots on their helmet. But I don't have mine on it right now, but normally I'll just do it on like one side, like on the back, like on the left side. I think that's kind of like how Kyle Quinlan did it. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I wanted to
Nice.
do it like that. Want to be
Carry
like
on the.
original and like everything else, but he was pretty freaking sick player. So I
Yeah,
thought that
he's
was,
he's kind
I
of
think
like
he was pretty good.
one of the most unreal quarterback talents I
Yeah,
think the
yeah,
province has ever seen. So,
yeah, he was pretty good.
um, but no, that's fantastic. So, on that note, I mean, the season's looking up for McMaster. I mean, your career looking up. East West Boulder this past year. So thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck week one. I'm gonna try and get out and see you guys week two. I think at Queens. So hopefully we can get together then. But good luck, all the best to you and the McMaster Marauders this year.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Wade. I appreciate it.